The beginning of this SNT season has been nothing short of unpredictable. Week after week, for the first month and a half of racing, we've had new winner after new winner after new winner. Now tonight, many of those drivers who have already come to victory lane are back with us once again, alongside over 20 others, as our first road course of the season is in effect. Over the summer, some drivers got the chance to test out this circuit and get some extra laps in. It's a familiar venue and the fastest road course on the NASCAR circuit. Welcome back to Schuyler County, New York. This is Watkins Glen International, and the Pyrex Grand Prix is due to begin in about 15 minutes time. Welcome back to FTN Broadcasting. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. The beginning of our weekend swing starts, of course, with returning from last weekend of racing, where Matthew White took victory in Texas. That was his first non-SuperSpeedway win of his career, and so he was able to climb the top of the mountain and join to this point this season David Hamrick, James Thurston, and Jordan Kuntz in achieving at least one race victory. Now, a few of those drivers are back on the track, James Thurston, one of which, so is Matthew White. And so the familiar faces are set to get right back at it. White is in the number 88, and for the first time with this new number, he was able to win last week. Thurston is with his very familiar number 96, and Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport is a team that is still looking for their first championship. Last season was a heartbreaking defeat. This season could be the redemption needed to close out the year. Seven minutes left on the clock. Cameron Chandler in the number 8. He's one of the guys who got some of that summer series in expertise, of course. He's one of the drivers who won in that series. He wasn't able to do it at Watkins Glen, but he sits on the podium now in timing and scoring. A great opening run for this qualifying stretch. We have 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, so many a driver will still take a time before it's said and done. Thurston is on his flying lap right now. The one and only drivers are given. They have a lot of time to put this lap in. However, they only get one shot. So it means that right now it is go big or go home. If you don't want to mess up, you got to make it count. Sometimes we give these drivers 2 laps in qualifying. Tonight that is not the case, and so everyone's got to watch out as it's do or die. Track position meaning so much more. And Ashton Miller sits at the top of the board. He was one of the Summer Series guys who really showed his muscle when we went racing here last time around in early August. Thurston's going to come across the line this time through, though, and let's see what he's got. James, at a speed of about 145 miles an hour, crosses the start-finish line. It's a 1:13.243. That's the pole position for James Thurston. His time shoots him right up to the top of the board. The only difference, 21 thousandths of a second. Matthew Weeks on pit road. Jacob Clarino on the circuit. So far, 14 drivers down to the number 5 of Wesley Carter have taken times. And we have a few drivers making their debut at a road course in this league. Clarino, making it out of the carousel, is on for his first road course start in SNT competition. Jacob, with the TJ Hanley Design sponsorship, is representing that new sponsor for the first time as well, so it's a day of firsts for the Clarino crew. He's set to be the now 15th man with a verified time on the board. Matthew Weeks went for a time, wasn't able to seal the deal. Clarino at the line, 1:13.7. That time is good for 4th, so Clarino looks good and gets it up into the top 5. Not a bad run at all. Weeks remains on pit road, waiting for one other driver, if there are any, but it looks like currently it is Matthew Weeks, the only driver on the track. We would be waiting then for Payson Lindsay, Kenneth Garrell, Joseph Miller, Andrew Stacy, Jordan Owens, Mike Hill, Landon Benson, Tyler Sevier, and Curtis Stanford. Otherwise, it looks like right now qualifying has gone to a standstill. The only driver who's on the track staying on pit road here, and Weeks will not be able to get his time in. Front row separate by 2/100ths of a second. Top 3 separate by 2/10ths. Top 10 separate by the better part of 2 seconds. So there's really levels to it when it comes to performance. Tonight, of course, those top 2 drivers, the best, they are the closest for a reason. Everyone else a little bit further behind, and so on and so forth. Matthew Weeks right now is the only driver on the track, which gives us a little bit more time to look at what else is going on at this circuit, Watkins Glen International. This track has been on the SNT schedule before. We went here for the summer series, and we also went here to begin 2024 with the Grand National Series. Right now, just waiting on qualifying to officially wrap up, but track conditions are going to stay very similar to what you're seeing right here. An ambient temperature of about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp is 122 degrees, and winds will be mild, varying from anywhere from 1 to 5 miles an hour for the time being. Winds are northbound with partly cloudy skies, but as you can see, the sun is shining through. Big emphasis on what you're seeing with that track temperature. It is warm, and more than that, it's burning on the circuit. Even if it's just a little warmer than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the difference becomes massive. Now, humidity-wise, also something to look out for. It looks like we won't see all too much humidity. The winds are going to remain fair, but that track temp is going to burn up tires with elevation, hundreds of feet of which, and left-handed, right-handed, camber and off-camber turns. Watkins Glen is not easy, and it's not easy on rubber. Those Goodyear Eagles give in quickly when you're burning it up like that. So overall, while humidity's not going to be a killer, watch out for the track temperature. That might be the dagger for all drivers tonight. Stephanie Hill, the chat room, thank you for stopping by. Onyx Racing League and a friend of the channel. The Israel Racing League was with us for a while there. Mike, thank you for stopping by as well. Great to have you here. If your favorite driver is set to get going in the racing action, let us know. Every driver here, they've got a fair shot, especially those guys who qualified. The top 10 is separate by about 1.8 seconds overall, and that's something that could be made up at a road course just like that. In a snap of a finger, you could make up a several second deficit because it's easier to make mistakes. We're looking overhead right now, and you can see this track, it looks very different depending on where you are on the circuit. Pit road is pretty empty here, and we're looking at that first turn and the massive drop into the 90-degree corner that opens up this venue. Watkins Glen and that iconic 90, that's where it all begins, and then you drive right up the hill all over again. Qualifying is at a standstill with a minute left on the clock, but it looks like your top drivers on the lineup have basically locked themselves in to that position. Weeks was not able to complete his time, nor was Matthew White, and so it looks like in a field of 26, 15 will have times. Letting the clock run out. James Thurston with the pole position, and for James, he's looking to back up his first win of the season. So far, he's got himself one checkered flag performance, winning at Rockingham, doing it an oval, but a tricky oval at that. Now, there's not a lot of similarity between Watkins Glen and Rockingham, but there is one thing that will remain the same. Tires will be a big part of the call. And to add to that, Rockingham is not particularly nice on fuel mileage when you go for long runs. We will see caution-free racing all throughout today's event, so that's something else to keep in mind. Thurston makes it official. He'll take his first road course pole position of the season, and he's back at the top of the board over Ashton Miller in the number 79. Qualifying has concluded. Your lineup has been set. Now we're on the second practice, and drivers will head out onto the track for the first time in about 5 minutes. As the field gets ready to rumble, last preparations are in order. A lineup of 26 take on the circuit here in Watkins Glen, New York. It's our first road course of the season, but it's a popular road course and a great way to get some drivers who might be less experienced back into the twists and turns. This lineup is going to be led off by the veterans, though, and a veteran is a driver who very well could have won a championship last season. He's on the rebound tour this time around, and he's kicking things off from the Glen. It's your pole sitter, the number 96 for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport. James Thurston takes the inside of row number 1, and alongside him is Ashton Miller in the number 79. Braden Hunsicker goes 3rd, and Jacob Clarino goes 4th, with Cameron Chandler and Aiden Donahue positioned 4 being Clarino, 5 being Chandler, 6 being Donahue. It'll then be the number 92 right behind an Asher Bunkley, Henry Kaloff in 8th, so the KDR drivers line up on row 4 and lock it up. 5th row has the 24 of John Meeks, and then the number 65 of Aaron Kovnat. Aaron tonight, the number 65 for the first time this season. After the 65 crew comes the 94 and Cody Erdman, and it'll be Andres Varas in the 84 in 12th. Michael Deitch is 13th place with Asa Bierce in the 91 going 14th. Wesley Carter is 15th and the last driver to take a time with a lap a 1:18.135. You'll then have Matthew White, the number 88, go 16th. Matthew Weeks starts in 17th, and Payson Lindsay is P18. Kenneth Gorell is 19th on the lineup today, with Joseph Miller wrapping up the top 20. The final 5 drivers automatically assigned based on iRating and not based on qualifying times. 21st place is the number 18. That is going to be Joseph Miller's companion, the row behind him. That is Andrew Stacy. Jordan Owens goes 22nd, a one-time race winner in the past. Then you'll have Mike Hill, Landon Benson, Tyler Seaver, and the number 26 of Curtis Stanford. Stanford is your 26th and final driver, and he'll ride shotgun on the field tonight from Watkins Glen. Welcome to Saturday Night Thunder from upstate, the Empire State. This is the Pyrex Grand Prix, and tonight, James Thurston grabs the pole position, and he'll get the ball rolling first and foremost here in New York. Good lineup. A minute and 45 left on the clock here. I'm excited to see Ashton Miller go at it. Miller burst onto the scene in the Summer Series, was able to get his first ever SNT win, and at Watkins Glen, he was dominant before a mid-race collision. He is proving that the run we saw there was far from a fluke. As a matter of fact, he's qualified within 25 thousandths of James Thurston, and it looks like while nobody else was even close to Thurston, and they were more than 2/10 back, Braden Hunsicker being the 3rd closest, well, Ashton Miller was able to get 10 times closer. Literally. That's a very impressive mark for Miller. And then you're going to see that fight of everyone on back. Hunsicker going at Clarino. Maybe a little bit better out of Cameron Chandler to come. Chandler being a half second off the pole time. And mind you, even though he was a half second off, he is still starting tonight in 5th. So a lot of room for improvement for basically everyone in the field. If the bar is your front row, I think we're going to see some drivers get closer. It's very unrealistic to think you're going to see Miller and Thurston immediately get away. They probably have the advantage overall in pace, but I would be surprised if it becomes a walkaway. Pit road still rather busy. There's the number 65 of Kovnat going for FTN Broadcasting tonight, one of the FTN fleet that we saw last season in Talladega. He's bringing back that look for his first start in the 65 this season, usually running the 91. Varas to his outside. With practice concluding here, it's time to move on to the big show, the main race, a 45-lap Grand Prix. "45 laps means we're going to be right on the needle when it comes to fuel mileage. So keep that in mind. Drivers are going to have to prioritize keeping themselves out of trouble, and in doing so, It's all going to come down to moderation. You want to moderate your fuel load. You want to moderate the way you're working at your tires. Trouble is not going to come tonight, at least exclusively by virtue of wrecking. In all honesty, it's going to come down to whether or not a driver can work themselves out well. You're not really racing the other drivers at a track like Watkins Glen. You're pacing yourself. Emphasis on pacing. You might not be the fastest driver on the track. You might not have the finesse. But Watkins Glen, while being a difficult track to master, might be the easiest road course of all to learn. You might not be the best learning it on the fly, but either way, it's not nearly as technical as other tracks like the Circuit of the Americas or Sonoma. If you're not a road course guy and you're hearing that, that's great news. It means that even if you don't have that top 5 pace, the top 10 on back is fair game. And it's going to be fair game all night just because of the pit strategy, the windows changing all throughout, depending on who wants to go in and when. You're also going to see a dependency, of course, on tire. Who's able to go long-term, not just on the fuel numbers, but on that level of aggression. You got to pace yourself and have that discipline. Not every driver is able to do it masterfully. I think Thurston is one of those guys who is a cut above in that regard. There's a reason he's on the pole position, and there's a reason he was gunning to be on that pole position to begin with. He does not want to be caught up with anything going on behind. The title matchup for this race, Thurston and Miller. And as they're billed as our top contenders, you got to watch out for everyone on back. Notably, you got the KDR crew, Kaloff working with Aaron Schugel, Asher Bunkley opting to start from pit road today, so it looks like a little bit of a change up for the 92, getting out of harm's way immediately. The rest of the field will line up as ordered, and that will bring Curtis Stanford up to 25th, as you'll see him now entering the bus stop here and into our carousel. 26 will start, one beginning from pit road tonight. With each lap being about 2.5 miles worth in length, the distance is most similar to the Daytona International Speedway, or of the tracks we've seen on the schedule this year, Talladega. But for all the speed that Watkins Glen can bring, it's a lot slower, with technical turns, 8 of them in fact, right-handers, left-handers, from the beginning of the circuit down to the end. It's all about the skill of hitting your marks. Focus on yourself, the field. You can pass as time goes on. That's the memo the whole field should be following. But for these two, Miller on the outside, Thurston on the inside, it's head-to-head, and it's one-on-one when the green flag drops. iRacing official pace car heads right down to pit road. It's all Thurston on the inside for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport. Welcome back to the Empire State. For the first time this season, we're going road course racing in Saturday Night Thunder. One driver in John Meeks is going to fall way back. Meeks having an issue through that bus stop and lawn mowing for a brief period. Oh, Andrew Stacy a little bit wide there in the 18 as well. And Stacy's going to fall further back. The Stacy team dropping all the way to the outside past the Jackie Stewart grandstands. Entering the Go Bowling Bridge, several spots under qualifying position. All is well at the head of the field, however, as Miller goes toe-to-toe with Stacy in the 16, and up in front is James Thurston over Braden Hunsicker and Ashton Miller. While top build in qualifying, Miller quickly fades back to Hunsicker, and Braden aggressively gets it up to the second spot. Cameron Chandler not too far behind your top 5, separate by about 5 seconds. That's because your 5th place man is way back. It's going to be Aiden Donahue in the 82, who's now more than 3 back on Cameron Chandler. And Donahue's in the battle with Jacob Clarino, as well Henry Cowoff and the 88 of Matthew White. Matthew has gotten up from 16th in qualifying today, mind you. He runs an 8th. It's only been about a lap and 3/4 here. So Matthew put his head down, didn't qualify well. In fact, he didn't even get a time on the board at all, but it looks like that is not stopping him. Take a ride on board now with the number 88 as he looks for another on Jacob Clarino. Both drivers get backed up on the exit under the Go Bowling Bridge, but into the 90, advantage White. Does he lunge for it? Gently. Yes, he does. Matthew White sends Jacob Clarino to the high side. That's for 7th, and a quick pass for White again moves him up now 9 places on the day. Clarino drops back. Henry Cowoff is up 2 to this point. Watch further behind. The mid-pack and the bottom half of the field have gotten away mostly in solid shape. It looks like John Meek's having some struggles, but the car is still clean, and everyone else has been able to make do so far. Curtis Stanford coming down to pit road this time by. And for Stanford, looks like it's going to be an early stop for the number 26 team. Early service as he backs it up into his stall. Looks like he missed it there to start. He'll be running last as now the 57 of Kenneth Gorell enters pit road all the same. Asher Bunkley stopping and going. Qualified 7th, but has been in the back of the field since. And with some backside damage, not the best of nights so far for the Bunkley crew. Take a look ahead. Oh, pulverized. Was that Clarino? Oh, yes, it was. What just happened to Jacob Clarino? And Jacob just got destroyed. And we're going to take a step back and figure out what caused it. Ride the lap through with Jacob Clarino as a disaster for the 33 team. And a ridiculous hit by all accounts. Now we're pulling you through the whole lap to see where it began because it looks like he got shot into pit road and so quickly that it's a race ender. I mean, the amount of damage he just got there. He toes it into pit road from there on. He's got a faster pair, but that does not look good at all. So for Clarino, the first big hit of the night. Jacob drops back to 23rd on that effect. Watch what happens here. Through the carousel. Maybe a little bit loose there, but that minor skating didn't seem to be a problem. At the time of the incident, Jacob was running in the 7th position, so he was running at the head of the field here. And as he went into pit road, it looked like the car came up from under him, and he had absolutely no control as to what happened next. Slides out of that final turn, slammed, and the front end goes. And he actually got caught in the back end with that wall there, and he's on pit road, as is Carter and Bunkley. James Thurston and Braden Hunsicker all the while remain positions 1 and 2. Thurston still at the top of the board. Cameron Chandler going to be 4th place here to Ashton Miller's 3rd. And so it looks like the same top 4 drivers remain. Your 5th place starter is up to 4th. Your 4th place starter dropping back to 23rd thanks to that hit. Henry Cowoff in the number 63 is keeping Matthew White at bay. And now this is the battle to step foot into the top 5 or to remain outside of it. White to the inside looking for what could be his 11th gain of the day. So he could make up 11 spots in the opening 6 laps. Oh, a close one there from Kaloff. He won't be able to keep it together. He'll slide all the way out of turn 1. Wow, head to head. No contact, but those drivers both slid about 20 feet outside the racing line to put it back together for the S's. Matthew White, welcome to the top 5. Perhaps a refreshed sense of confidence for the man in that number 82. Of course, in Aiden Donahue, watching and getting closer. But for Matthew White, he has really been on a roll. Getting that win last week, punching his ticket into the playoffs, and he is the biggest mover by a long shot today. It's actually not by a long shot. I'll take that back. 18th to 8th is Payson Lindsay, and Lindsay has the opportunity to go for a little bit more if only this 97 crew can get back to Aaron Kovnat here. So, double-digit gains in the top 10. We see 2 examples of it, and Matthew White right now just happens to be the forerunner of which. Braden Hunsicker, I gotta say, a pleasant surprise. To this point, Hunsicker has been able to come out of that second row of the qualifying lineup and is only about 0.4 of a second back on Thurston. Is James saving his stuff? Does he have a little bit more in him that we're not seeing? Last time by, he ran a 1:14.003, so considerably slower than qualifying. Yeah, it's 0.8 of a second off. But last time by, for Hunsicker, he ran a 1:13.8. Mind you, that's only 0.4 of a second slower than where Braden was in his qualifying run. Now, that's also partially because he was slower in qualifying, but at the same time, Braden right now looks like the slightly quicker man, and that might be an advantage that carries over for the rest of the race. Running in the draft down the straightaways, getting a little bit of that toe on the way in, and getting pulled through. A huge help down the line, especially down this front straightaway where the speed is carried more than anything else. 8 laps in out of 45, Braden Hunsicker the closest he's been within 1/4 of a second. Ashton Miller, third here, 2.5 off. Still, Ashton is more than 2 seconds up on the next closest in Cameron Chandler, and then Matthew White is 7 seconds behind. Braden Hunsicker continues to watch and wait, while Henry Kaloff and Aiden Donahue are now going to go battling each other. Top 10 is separate by 22 seconds, down to Jordan Owens. Owens qualified in 22nd and is now up to 10, so he now has made up 12 places. Owens having a great run from starting without a qualifying spot. Of your top 10 now, 3 drivers are in it without taking a time in qualifying. So it shows that even starting all the way back in the field doesn't mean your race is over. In fact, for Jordan Owens, Lindsay, and Matthew White especially, it only means you can go up and up. Owens is still being chased by Andrew Stacy. Stacy also had some very early issues and fell to the back of the field, but it looks like he's overcome the most of them. 21. Now 20, in fact, on the lead lap. That goes back to Mike Hill. Hill is coming up right now on another as he just got by the 91 of Azabirce. And Tyler Sevier would be 19th, the next closest driver. Aiden Donahue continuing to chase after Henry Kaloff, and now all these drivers are really settled into a rhythm. Let's now begin to watch out for those closest head-to-head battles. Currently, a few of these guys are tightened up by a few tenths of a second. The leading battle is one of the closest, but also you have Andres Varas and CJ Erdman here. Erdman in the 94 and Varas in the 84 are getting closer to each other. And these two are now separate by within a half second. Aiden Donahue likewise is getting up to Henry Kaloff again past the Jackie Stewart grandstands. Donahue as close as he's been. Kaloff has still been able to defend well, but Aiden watches, waits through the front straightaway. I think he's got the run to make it count. up high. Aiden Donahue and Henry Kaloff at the line. Advantage Kaloff. Henry will have the inside going in. And Donahue's going to try to get him on a crossover. Good exit for Donahue. A lot smoother than Kaloff. Still not enough. Henry has been playing that riskier route. Oh, Donahue into the grass and luckily saves it. And it looked like Aiden was in more control of that battle, but Henry will be the one that gets away. So Kaloff, even as he goes so wide in that opening corner, well, I'll take that one back. He'll go right through the bus stop, and he'll mow the lawn as well. And it's a landscaping team for position 6 and 7, as Donahue and Kaloff alike both make their mistakes. But it looks like the Donahue error proved a lot more consequential. Aiden is still a good half second off, whereas Henry Kaloff was able to keep the majority of his gains even as he slid. So Henry's going to keep himself going in the 6th spot. Aiden Donahue goes for 7th. Look all the way back, and the closest battle next up will be Andrew Stacy in the number 18. Stacy coming up on Jordan Owens, and even while Jordan has some damage, he's been able to hang tight. Andrew's made it up 10 places. Jordan has gone up 12. And the back half of your top 10, particularly 9, 10, and 11, those places, they have all made it up at least 9 spots. Payson Lindsay's gone up 9. Owens, the big 12. And Andrew Stacy right in the middle of them with 10. Add to that Matthew White, and you've got 4 drivers that have made up at least 9 places. If Andrew Stacy gets one on Jordan Owens, it will be 4 drivers who have made up 10 plus places. In a field of only 26, that's a pretty impressive statistic for just about a quarter of your field. Payson Lindsay, 18th up to 9th here. 9 spots gained, getting up to Aaron Cognon as the goal right up next. Aaron is 2 spots up for the Kaloff Deitch Racing crew. Looks like KDR starting good today with positions in mind. Henry's got 6th. Aaron has 8th. Cameron Chandler just got passed by Matthew White. Matthew now pulls a dozen, and he's the 2nd driver on the day to go for more than 12 places, or rather 12 or more. 24 spots gained by Matthew White and Jordan Owens combined in a field of 26. So they're doing the heaviest lifting of all of our big movers. And the Hard Charger Award is going to be a one-on-one fight between those 2 drivers here. John Meeks, 9th down to 14th. It looks like he's been able to cut some of those losses. John fell back outside the top 15 briefly and has slowly but surely made that delegate rise up again. 84 of Andres Vars on the high side, and he's upstairs. Gonna get past real quick, and into the bus stop comes John. Meeks has been having some solid runs, particularly last time we went racing in Texas. The Meeks team has come alive as of late. A top 10 is still possible, but it would come down to some mistakes up and ahead, and it would be several seconds of gaining needed because Meeks is right now 5 seconds back on Erdman, and notably just about 12 seconds back on the top 10. Coming across the line, Owens still leads Stacy. Braden Hunsicker is just barely behind James Thurston, though. Watch this. Into the bus stop, top 2 drivers right with each other. I mean, they are attached. The front bumper of the 00 car is on the backside of Thurston, and that's the way it's been now for the better part of 15 laps. The opening stint has been locked tight between your top 2. Toe-to-toe into lap 14. So the strategy breakdown, since we're getting to that point, coming real close to when we'll need it. Pit stops could come anywhere from lap number 20 to lap number 25. It looks like tonight we might even see some drivers go a little bit longer when it comes to strategy. Now, with 45 laps on the table, we do have enough for drivers to go for over a 30-lap stint. Now, it's not the best thing to do, and on a comfortable basis, it's highly unlikely. But drivers can go up to about 37 laps safely on their fuel tank. Oh, we got contact in front of the leaders, and it's big. It's the number 27 who goes around. Mike Hill just ahead of positions 1 and 2 with Asa Beers. The leaders get away. Watch this, though. And we have trouble with Hill and Beers. Contact breaking early is Hill, late is Beers. They go up the track. And 2 drivers destroyed in one foul swoop. They'll both have to head down to pit road effective immediately. Mike is on pit road as we speak, and the leaders just barely get by. Luckily, that contact was just a moment before they got there. Had it been just a little later, we might have seen a catastrophe. However, everyone involved, it looks like leader-wise, 1, 2, 3 with Miller, got away. Matthew White is going to get past those lappers who were also around the time of the incident. Wesley Carter and now Cameron Chandler is going to try to make that same move. Matthew getting a whole lot of help from Wesley Carter staying back there and unintentionally defending the number 8 of Chandler. Cameron now has a lot more distance to make up as Thurston goes to the inside through the bus stop to maintain the lead, side by side and nearly 3 wide with the lappers of Seaver and Deitch. Braden's got his number, and James Thurston's got to watch out. That's the closest it's been now. For the number 96 of Thurston, he almost lost the race lead, and it's close. Tyler way up the track. Hunsicker loose. And he pulls it back together quick, but he's not going to get a good exit off of 8. And so into the final turn, advantage James Thurston. Both drivers slip and slide. Sliding looks like the way to do it because Thurston was able to slip through and take the lead all over again. It's going to be Braden Hunsicker back in second, and he has still yet to lead a lap tonight. The fight in favor has been in the balance of the Power Smash crew since the jump. Braden hasn't had a bad run by all means. As a matter of fact, he's done a real good job up at the head of the pack. But James Thurston has just done a little bit better. And it's just a few tenths of a second, that difference. Just enough for the Thurston crew to hang on. Ashton Miller in third place. Matthew White in fourth. Cameron Chandler, P5. In that Monster Energy Camaro. Aiden Donahue maintains in P6 here. Looks like Henry Kaloff hasn't yet gotten close enough. KDR's 7th and 8th. Then Jordan Owens and Andrew Stacy continuing their long running battle. And they might have a little bit more to look out for. Watch on back as you got the 11 of Matthew Weeks. Matthew getting closer and closer into this joust, and it could be 3-way. Andrew Stacy coming right up at the end of the carousel and using every inch. Jordan Owens has maintained a calm and collected profile, and even with a little bit of trouble with that front end damage, there is no quit in that Chevrolet Camaro. Payson Lindsay, the first driver to retire on the night, and so it looks like the 97 is going to have to bow out early. The line again for Owens. Jordan now up 13 places from beginning. Way wide there, Andrew Stacy. Oh, contact and destroyed! From out of the groove to out of contention, perhaps. That was a hard hit for the 18 of Stacy. Watch this. Now, what happened to lead to it? Andrew, wide into the apex, overcorrects once, and just can't turn it out of the tire barrier. And gets hooked on the side. And now Stacy damage all around. just barely missing the apex in, and it looks like half a groove, tried to get the turn on, and got shot up to the top of the track, the very top of it, outside of the racing line. Oh, Stacy, still having trouble under the carousel and spins up the track, and that 18 is in trouble. Oh, just misses the tire barrier there. But Andrew, bad news, is now in 13th and fading. He'll have to get down to pit road, get that faster pair, and get back on the way as Michael Deitch passes by. Heavy hits there, as it looks like now Matthew White taking second, Ashton Miller in third, and 18 laps in out of 45, an early call on the field for the 00 of Braden Hunsicker. Hunsicker now in 5th place. And it looks like with some right side damage as well. So let's see what happened here as Hunsicker made it clear. First time in the pit road early. 18 laps in out of 45. Braden can go the rest of the way on that stint, but that's a quick rewind, and it looks like as we come back to that live feed, Braden is coming in again. So Hunsicker with some trouble now and an unexpected, unscheduled stop, and that's going to leave Thurston way out in front of the rest of the field. James now confidently holds first place, and Hunsicker finding problems as he'll take a faster pair and his first set of Goodyear rubber. Thurston is now a second ahead of Matthew White. Matthew qualified 16th and is within 1 second of your race leader. Thurston, of course, had the advantage of beginning this race at the head of the pack, and it looks like even still, from all the way behind without taking qualifying time, the Matthew White crew has made it all the way up. Close to first, and about as close to first as it can get without being there. Matthew White is in the mix, and he will not quit. 20 laps in out of 45 now. Hunsicker is the first leading contender to opt into pit road, and so he will set the first sparks off of the big fire of pit road racing. That strategy call is going to be do or die, make or break for just about everyone on the field, no matter when they decide to go in or why they decide to go in. I think Hunsicker is well aware of that. And for him, he's luckily going to get some damage recovery from the time he went into pit road. An opportune time. He didn't get that damage too early in the run, and he can finish the rest of the race on the stint he's on. It'll be about a 27-lap run. That is doable. Meanwhile, Matthew White closer and closer to taking the lead from Thurston. Thurston blocks the apex into the final corner. Close, but not enough. Matthew White is as close as it gets, and he's hoping to find a mistake for the 96 team. Thurston shuffles a little bit low. That sends White high. Wow. Right on the safer barrier, the two of them. Both drivers getting lucky. And in doing so, they'll live to see another lap. Advantage again with James Thurston. Whenever those risky moments come by, it's Thurston or whoever leads in that case who gets the edge. You don't want to find yourself in a significant issue where, of course, there's a problem for the 96 team or the 88 team, strategy-wise. You don't want to push it a little too hard, and I think both drivers understand there the leader gets it. If you lead on the entry, you're going to get it there in those risky situations. So, that's a compromise. Matthew White backs off, and Thurston does as well. Wow, how close it was. White is on the verge of what could be his second consecutive win. Thurston looking for his second win on the season, and both drivers are looking to take apart the 4 straight new individual winner streak that we've had to start this campaign. Matthew gets to the inside. No, he will not. Thurston doesn't back down, and he will play chicken with the 88. And White will be the one who backs out. How about that? Now that was a risky call. For Thurston, he could have very well allowed White to take the inside, but he used the second groove and got even lower as the run progressed. So that is impressive work without a doubt. Thurston is going to keep it going. Matthew White, 16th up to second. He's got himself now prepared to go at it again. Offense and defense have been on point, head-to-head battle, and now it really is the one-on-one. From the back of the field on up to your pole sitter, and they look to be just about even lap after lap. Tire wear has been a big deal. These drivers are running lap times 1.5 seconds off of Thurston's pole sitting time, comparing a 1:13.2 to a 1:14.8. White is in. Matthew White with the undercut. He will leave Thurston out to dry, and so it's going to be James Thurston who stays out for the extra lap. Ashton Miller takes second. And so now, Matthew White goes into pit road, and in the head-to-head battle for the race win, it's going to be a quick move for White. The pit road. Undercut versus overcut. Short versus long. We'll see now what happens as Thurston is going to run this extra lap. In the meanwhile, Ashton Miller is now running in P2. Looking at who goes into pit road and when. It looks like now you're seeing more and more drivers opt for it. Michael Deitch, Cody Erdman, Payson Lindsay and company of those who have gone down to pit road, but the majority of the top 10 has not yet conceded. That looks to change. Cameron Chandler just got out of pit road. Jordan Owens right now still on the track and waiting to see if Thurston will give them the signal. Coming out of the Go Bowling Bridge, it'll be either below it directly or next to it. And the call in the field is to go beside the bridge and head into pit road. Thurston brings Miller, and it looks like now Matthew White is on the prowl. Matthew's going to have to get a good run here. This is the most important stretch of his race. Henry Kaloff. Let's see if he commits to pit road this time by. It looks like for the number 63 team, he will decide not to follow the leader and stay out. Thurston just got into pit road. He's at his entry. Meanwhile, Matthew White coming across the final corner. Now, down that long front straightaway, who will get out first? Thurston, 4 tires and fuel. He just got himself that final set. He's got the right sides on. Matthew White is coming through. Here comes the number 88, and convincingly, Matthew White is ahead. Matthew, with over a second on James Thurston, takes the race lead. What a difference one lap makes. An exciting turn of events for Matthew White, who has just gotten it started in this first half of the race, running up to second from 16th, and so now he's made his way up to P2. Aaron Schugel is going to be scored now as your leader. You'll have the 65 team, and then the 63 of Kaloff. James Thurston, all is well right now for the 96 crew, except for the fact he's no longer the leader. But watch that wobble from White, and that's going to bring him right back down to earth. The fight is begun again, and look at that. Thurston has cut the gap in more than half. Just when you thought that all fell down for the 96 crew, he's gotten himself close once more. There looks to be still no stopping for Thurston. He's not going to quit, but even though the chips are down, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Matthew White has that clean air, and notably, he's got warmed up tire. Will that play to his benefit for now? Is he going to see that be the reason he fall apart? Into the bus stop once again. Full-on pressure. Both drivers hopping through the curbs. I mean, Thurston was two-wheeling it the whole time. And Matthew White was barely hanging on any better. 21 laps to go now. Matthew White and James Thurston on the edge of control. And there's very little you can do past what they're doing. It's about 100% they've been giving over the last 10 laps. But now they can give it with even a little bit more speed. That time by for Matthew White, a 1:13.204. That lap time would have been good for the pole position. James Thurston, do it one quicker. That's a 1:13.162. The fastest lap of the session. Both of those times would have been good for pole position. So now you got a field that is running faster than it was in qualifying, or at least you've got the two leaders going quicker. That is unbelievable. So 110% is what you're seeing now as they're giving the extra mile, every mile, right on board with James Thurston. Now he's in the position to be the chaser, while it's all Matthew White up and ahead with clean air. 20 laps to go. Meanwhile, Braden Hunsicker is within 2 seconds. He had to go down pit road way earlier to correct some damage, but he's still sitting on the podium. Can't count him out either. If push comes to shove up here, if there's a mistake made between your top two, you are going to see very quick, huge problems. Across the line once more. 0.4 of a second the difference. Both drivers still running tremendous times there. 1:13.3 for White, 1:13.4 for Thurston, and so they are on their best individual stretch of laps of the entire race. It's impossible to fully sustain what we're seeing here. Eventually, the field is going to get caught up to by its own limitations. Tire being one of them. Wow, Matthew White drifting all the way through the bus stop, just like Thurston did 2 laps ago. And the way that they're skating through, that is far from sustainable. That's exactly the problem. That is exactly the problem. But it makes for exciting racing. What happens when they can't maintain that level of aggression with their equipment? We don't know yet. 19 laps to go. Matthew White is eyeing his second consecutive. Of course, Thurston looking for his second of the season. Both of these drivers have already made their first trips to victory lane, something a majority of the field can't say is the case. It looks like now it's at least a little bit different. You've got defending or returning winners to the point. Braden Hunsicker will be the next up to bat to try to go for his first win of the season. He runs in third. And right now, 3 seconds is nowhere near where he would like to be. Of course, he's still within a few seconds, yes, but he's not directly up in the mix. Matthew White, all the while, 16th up the first, has gone from behind everyone to ahead. And he is still only getting quicker. Last time by, he ran a 1:13.5 to Thurston's 1:13.391. It's been a toss and turn, a back and forth at the head of the field as to who now really has those fastest laps. I don't think it particularly matters who's going the fastest overall as much as it does who's setting the tone. And right now, with certainty, it's going to be the 88 of White setting that tone. Thurston getting his back bumper all over again. .17 laps remaining. Thurston tries, gets to the bumper, gets lower, just can't do it. Thurston laying into White again, nearly some contact. The lapper Michael Deitch goes high. White gets shaken out of line. Here comes Thurston. White moved up to the high side before Deitch did, and he'll give Thurston the edge into the bus stop. Oh, and just a small mess up from the 88. Loses him the lead. Pole sitter back on top. White falls behind. Matthew succumbing to the fate of lap traffic there. That's really what got him. And just a brief unfortunate moment for the 88 crew. Thurston, he's been waiting for that one. And it looks like as he goes for that sort of overcut, he's able to continue on. Matthew White went in early, got the edge, and now the 96 team is paying it back later on with some slightly younger rubber. Will that one lap make a difference? Now we find out. Matthew Weeks is to retire the car. That leaves us now with 10 on the lead lap, the last of which Jordan Owens. Here comes the number 5 of Wesley Carter, and a fast pass made with the 96 and the 88 alike. Now, here's the kicker. Matthew White just got past here, and yes, he's on older rubber, but he absolutely had to work a whole lot harder to even get up to this point. And that's all because, he came from 16th. So I think even though he might have one lap older rubber, the wear isn't going to be the killer. If he regroups himself fast, it is very likely we're going to see the exact same battle continue on. And it might still be with a Matthew White in the cards for a win. 15 laps remaining this time by. With 15 remaining and more than half of this race out of the way, we'd like to thank our friends at Whiplash SimCams for tonight's cameras for both our car perspectives and the track. There's no better place to go for broadcast cameras than Whiplash, and if you want to try it out, it's at no cost of your own. That's right, Whiplash SimCams has free trial packs available, as seen on P1 Broadcasting, of course our own broadcast here at FTN and Pitstop TV. Whiplash is where the best of the best go for their camera needs, so make sure to check them out, and of course if you like what they have available, no licensing fees necessary. Once you buy it, it's yours. $5 per car and track package. We're going to step aside for a few laps here and give you the unfiltered sounds of Watkins Glen International here in Saturday Night Thunder. 15 laps to go in the Pyrex Grand Prix. Watches the leaders battle, and the rest of the field does its thing. 15 to go from the Empire State. Let's crank it up in Watkins Glen. 12 laps remaining from Watkins Glen, and it's still the same 1-2 pack-a-punch at the front of the field with the best two drivers of the day doing their thing. Pole sitter Thurston, the hard charger Matthew White, separate by a quarter of a second. The bus stop just goes to show how aggressive these two drivers have been in fulfilling the full extent of their pace lap after lap. They're driving through, they're hopping over those curbs, and they are not letting off the throttle unless absolutely necessary. Matthew White and James Thurston alike are as good as it gets right now. The 96 of Thurston heads uptown through the Jackie Stewart grandstands. The 88 of Matthew White, more of the same here. And they've been running practically identical laps over the last few sets. It was a 1:14.337 that time by for Matthew White, a 1:14.329 the lap prior. As they just came across the stripe, both drivers ran practically identical laps. The difference between the two was 1/1000th of a second. Just 1/1000th. Unbelievable. There's no other pair on the track that is as lockstep in pace as these two are. And it's only a given then that these are the best and the fastest on the racetrack. 8th to 8th on the day is Henry Kaloff. Aaron Kovnat, his teammates, gotten by, and he's done so for 7th. So the KDR drivers going for a double top 10. Aiden Donahue inside the top 5 now. Cameron Chandler up 1 spot in 4th. And then Ashton Miller. Miller, who qualified very close to Thurston's top time, has taken the more quiet route of settling in for 3rd place. Really no competition for this spot all night long. It's been his as a wide open run. 3rd place, and about 3 seconds up on the next closest driver in Chandler, and then about 9 back on the leaders, so it's a comfortable margin. There's 8 drivers left on the lead lap, mind you. The last of them is Jordan Owens. Owens qualified at 22nd today, so coming from all the way in the back of the field. And it looks like even with that being the case, he has held on better than almost everyone on track. 22nd up to 8th. And doing that with damage as well. So maybe if the Owens crew was able to avoid some of those early troubles and pitfalls, then there could have been an even better run in store. Owens very well may have gone for a top 5, if not better. 8, of course, drivers on the lead lap. Owens is not in jeopardy of falling any further. With 10 laps remaining, it looks like he's got just enough distance to hang on for the rest of the night. Braden Hunsicker having some trouble in falling 1 lap down into 11th here. And he's going to try to make his way back up to Miller and John Meek toward the closest drivers to him on the lead lap. 9 to go this time by. Into turn 1 again come Thurston and Matthew White alike. No match for these two. The closest battle on the racetrack besides them is between the teammates in Kovnat and Henry Kaloff. But Matthew White is there. The gap is within 0.2 of a second once again. 9 to go. Up and down, corner after corner. It looks like Matthew White is just waiting to make that move now, trying to find that room. For the 96 team, he's had the rhythm up in front, and he's also had the space. He got that space from Michael Deitch going through the S's, and when the lappers get involved, leaders at road courses sometimes get the short end of the stick, and that is exactly how it went down for Matthew there, as he lost the race lead. And he's been waiting now for the better part of 10 laps to get that rebound. It still hasn't come his way. 8 remaining this time by. There is no other battle within a half second, only one other battle within 1 second, and only 2 others within 5 seconds on the racetrack now. The field is really coming to its own, and that means that just about everyone has found their pace and now they are running it. That again is why at Watkins Glen you don't really race other drivers, you're racing and pacing yourself. And when you find that natural limit at how you go about it, that's about where you're going to stay for the entire night. For White and Thurston, it looks like they've only been able to find each other and not the clean air. Wow, Thurston, 2 tires on the grass again. And both of them have done that multiple times. I mean, they are right on the needle as to what is capable of being called legal or what's being called a track violation. Into the Jackie Stewart grandstands, another block there from Thurston. Not an aggressive block per se, just making sure he takes that room. Into one again. Matthew White wide. Thurston ends up going just about as wide, but it took him a little longer to get there. That first turn, we haven't seen it used a lot for passing, which is a little bit of a surprise actually, given how strong these drivers have been at using every inch. But when they do that, it looks like everyone goes that far wide. So, to this point anyway, we haven't even seen any drivers really make their gains there, but they all have been going out there for defense. If you want to hold your line and preserve it, take the other driver up to the wall and keep going. For passes, not as much. The carousel would be a good spot. Can White get to the bumper? Not there. Side by side. Oh, no shot there. White tried to go for it. Seven laps to go, coming to 6. Take a ride on board with White as he tries to get that race lead back. Through the bus stop. Thurston still just ahead. It looks like White there is going to cut down to the grass more than anything. Once, twice, 3 times, little nudges now, and we're starting to see instances of contact. So, what's going to happen now with 5 laps to go? They're getting closer. Oh, a little bit of internet trouble there for Matthew White. He'll peel out and peel to the inside. Maybe a shot to lunge in. White goes low, and he's got the apex. Thurston forced out of line. He'll go wider than ever. All the way to the outside on turn 1. But White's got it low into the S's. Side by side for the first time in this race leading battle. Oh, there goes Matthew White right through the grass. And Thurston with some contact as well. The 88 falling out, Thurston going wide, and they're going to pull themselves close together again. A second shot for White as both drivers fumble. Five laps to go, coming to 4. So now, Thurston's got the race lead, but both drivers have scuffed up their tire to a further extent. Again, these mistakes hamper Matthew White more than anything. Matthew's got those problems that have been a little bit harder to fight back from because he doesn't have clean air. The fact that he even got back to Thurston's back end to begin with was a huge shock, and now it looks like doing it twice in a row is going to be practically impossible. Thurston through the bus stop once more. And he is still hopping each and every time by. Even as he gets a little bit of a bigger break, and it's hard to say it's a really big break per se, it seems like he still understands he is being watched. And as he's haunted by the number 2 of White behind him, got to figure out a way through to the checkered flag. Matthew could get up there at any moment, and yet it hasn't happened. Three laps remaining this time through. White remains within a half second. Both drivers through run way high. Final driver on the lead lap is Jordan Owens. Still going to have enough time for him to make it to the end. And I don't think he's going to have a particular issue with getting there on the lead lap. Thurston with 3 laps to go here, as is White within a quarter of a second. Take a look at the back end of the 96 here. Two laps to go this time by. Thurston into 1 has a little bit of a breakthrough once again. Donahue 6th up to 5th. So for him, it's as clear as it gets. Cameron Chandler, likewise, hasn't gotten up to Ashton Miller. The top 2 is still for debate. Two remaining this time. One last shot through the carousel might be it for Ashton. Of course for 3rd, but for Matthew White, he's gotten contact there before. Under the Go Bowling Bridge to the white flag. Thurston with 4/10 of an edge. This is the last shot. You've got the opening corner, you've got the bus stop, you've got the carousel. Make the most of it. White flag flies. Thurston still leads. And here we go again. 1 lap to go. Matthew gets them up and going on the backside. Of course, James Thurston still the front runner. It's a quarter of a second gap as they go all the way up. Lockstep. Matthew's just about as quick. Thurston hasn't been able to shake him. Into the bus stop. Who goes in harder? White sails in. Thurston a little bit wider. Here comes the carousel. White gets the better of Thurston on the way in and really gets to the inside. Tries to nudge the bumper once and twice. White goes wide. Thurston was able to compose himself even with less power coming through. And with Matthew White wiggling, that might have been the final nail in the coffin. Into your final corner. White with one last shot. He'll dive as deep as he can go. But White washes up for the second time this season. Power Smash, Infinity Speed, Motorsport, and James Thurston win. Thurston comes across the line backwards, and he's a winner at Watkins Glen. Thurston began celebrating before the race was even over. White slipped out of line, and he just limps home for second. James Thurston is a multi-time winner, the first of the season, and what a drive it was, and an amazing race for Matthew White as well, who finished it off, qualifying 16th and getting up to second. Thurston's gonna celebrate and burn it down just about everywhere on track. What a victory from the 96 team. James Thurston is your race winner, and he'll finish the job from the pole to the checkered flag. We'll be right back with your results and post-race coverage, so stay tuned live on FTN Broadcasting. You're watching post-race for the Pyrex Grand Prix. We'll return right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
James Thurston is a winner again. And with that victory, he'll take it by 3.5 seconds over Matthew White. 1-2, and I'll tell you this much, they were lockstep the whole way there. White just sliding out at the end to finish second. Third place goes Ashton Miller. He qualified second, just dropped one under, and Cameron Chandler goes in fourth. Layden Donahue fifth, Aaron Cobnant sixth, and Henry Kaloff P7. It's then eighth for Jordan Owens, ninth for John Meeks, and Joseph Miller wrapping up the top 10. 11th on the day, Braden Hunsicker is your first driver off the lead lap, 2 laps down. 12th is going to be Tyler Seaver. 13th, Kenneth Gorell. Mike Hill, P14. 15th place is Andres Varas, with 16th, Wesley Carter. Michael Deitchen, 17th. Matthew Weeks in 18th. 19th for Landon Benson. And Andrew Stacy wrapping up the top 20. 21st place then goes CJ Erdman with Payson Lindsay, 22nd. These are your retirees. Asa Bierce, Asher Bunkley, Curtis Stanford, and Jacob Clarino wrapping up the 26-car field you see tonight. And what a field it is. The checkered flag coming out after a caution-free race, and the battle for the lead was intense from beginning to end. James Thurston never really did get a clean and clear breakaway, but one thing's for certain, he led through and through. And with Thurston collecting his second win of the season, this one was a hard victory to grasp, even at the very end of it. Thurston, welcome back to Victory Lane, and from Watkins Glen, the road courses seem to treat you nice.
Yeah, man, I wasn't really sure what was going on with that race. I mean, I kept trying to pull out to get a little bit of a lead there, and it seemed like every time I do it, they would reel me right back in. And I mean, the one time that I got passed during pit cycles, I caught right up to the leader and got by him again. I had a lap fresher tires, and I just couldn't really do much. I mean, yeah, I don't know. This track's never really been my best. This car is one that I struggle with on road courses, so you put those two together, and you don't usually get amazing results here with me. But yeah, we were good this race, good enough to win. Just yeah, I mean, with the track update, First time driving with the new bus stop here. So, and also the track limits were different here, which didn't really matter in this league anyways. But, not a lot of new stuff to get used to, but a little bit, you get so used to driving the track the same way, and they go and change it up. You just got to learn it a little bit. And, yeah, man, just super happy to win this race for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports. And, goodness, hopefully we can. I'm super happy to win, but hopefully we can grab some more speed here at this track in specific here in the future.
And tonight, of course, the battle was the big deal for you up in front. You qualified first, excelled with getting that track position, and it seems like it was really important to start up front because you had pressure on you the whole time. So how was it managing with defense?
Yeah, I mean the track position I think was pretty big for me. I think Matthew came from pretty far back, but he'd been quick the entire session. I don't know what all other experience he's got with this track since the update, but I had none. So, I think that a lot of it was me learning the track as we went. I mean, obviously by the time he caught up to me, I got somewhat quick because he didn't pull away from me, and I was able to hold him off pretty well. There with a few laps to go, though, I saw him hit the barrier going into the bus stop, and I thought it was over. And apparently, he got no damage from that. So, I guess we still got to learn the limits here at this track and see what gets damaged, what doesn't, because that's pretty odd. The moving chicanes on the track also were a bit of an obstacle. So, that's always fun. But yeah, man, super happy to win this race.
And a great victory for the team, the first multi-time winner of the season. Now, one thing we'd like to mention about the track specifically, tire wear seemed to be a pretty big deal. We saw a fall off of more than a second and a half over the course of the run. Did it impact at all the way you went at it?
Yeah, man, it really did. That's I was really trying to run the tires out as long as I could. Then I saw Matthew pit a lap before me, and I was like, it was like halfway through the race. I was like, we can pit here and just do halfway, and that makes sense on tires. And if a caution comes out, we'll just pit again. I just didn't want to fall into a position where, the tires kind of level out. So, obviously, I think we made the right call there. And the tire wear was interesting. This track, it burns the rears off, but the car gets tight. It's super weird. With either how they have the car set up or the way that the track acts in the sim. But yeah, it's a very unique road course. I think that's really, really what it is about this track that differentiates itself from all the other ones. Yeah, lots of tire wear for sure.
And with the tire burning, didn't matter at all, still able to come right up on top. It's your second win of the season, first at a road course, and now you've got some more momentum ahead of the rest of the field. Next up on our calendar, Chicagoland, back to the bread and butter of the mile and a half. How are you feeling returning to Joliet?
Sounds like fun. That's usually a pretty good track for me. And yeah, we'll just have to see if we get some long green flag running in there. It's a really good track for it.
Collecting win number 2 on the season, James Thurston for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport. Any final comments you'd like to send out?
Just thanks for you broadcasting these races, and yeah, have a good night.
James Thurston, victory from the Glen, coming through for a second of the campaign. Thank you for your time, James.
Thank you once again.
Thurston gets at it, and Matthew White finishes in second. Matthew's been a little bit more challenging to find on some of these nights after races, so we'll try to get a word from him once again. Tonight on the losing end, unfortunately, after winning last week from Texas. Still, by all accounts, a great performance. So we're going to ask if he's available right here, and we'll see if we can get a word from Matthew White. If not, we'll move on to your second driver after him, and Ashton Miller, who also had a great performance. White, had it not been, I think, for that instance with the lapped guys, where it was the problem of getting by Michael Deitch up the S's, then without a doubt, I think White would have had that victory. That was the difference maker. It was very close. and a very close race overall, but just the fact that he had to sacrifice that lead, or the fact he thought he had to sacrifice the lead there and go up high, that was the kicker. He was going up the hill and dropped right out of line, and Thurston took the lead, and that was the differentiator. So Matthew White, for the time being, not available. We will circle back to him if he comes with us. But in the meanwhile, we have third place to speak to in Ashton Miller. Miller is a driver we expected to see good things out of, and he showed us tonight that was indeed the case. Podium to start, podium to finish. Ashton, it's your best SNT race ever, as a matter of fact. Welcome to the podium circle.
Yeah, man. Crazy race out there. Just wish we could have had a little bit more. I feel like we were catching the leaders at the end, but nonetheless, I'll take a podium. I think the second podium of this season so far. But yeah, just sucks that so many stuff happened to us that led in our misfortune.
And you mentioned maybe not where you wanted to be, even though it was third place. Could you walk us through the race here? You were able to keep the podium going, but what kept you out of the higher places?
So yeah, I mean, I was racing Braden. We were having good battles, and then just out of nowhere, just a lap car comes. He gives me wheel damage, and we had to battle that for the last 10 laps, I think. And overall, just unfortunate. I guess we're never really good at tire saving. I guess that really showed off here too. But I feel like if we just had a little bit more time, we could have been up there in the front pack. And if just we didn't get caught up in all the back marker shenanigans, it could have been a different story for us. But just stuff happens, and just unfortunate for us.
All things considered, still able to maintain for a third place finish here. Now, you got your first taste of this track in this league in the summer series. You think that experience helped you at all and make it tonight such a success?
I mean, honestly, I wasn't able to race Watkins Glen in the summer series, but I was practicing it earlier today. I was doing a lot of laps, and I got used to it pretty quick. Just I thought we were gonna be good at tire saving, and that just wasn't the case for us. But just glad overall that we got a top three, but just wish we got a little bit more.
Now, maybe looking next up for our next week's race to go for what's left. 2 extra spots to gain for Ashton Miller, finishing third on the day today. Any final shout-outs you'd like to send?
Yeah, my team owner, Lucas Kim, and everyone on TCMC giving us a big time and giving us just a chance to go for the win here. Proud of Matthew White, giving it his all, trying to win the race for us, and Brian Hunsaker giving us a good battle there until all that stuff in the back happened.
P3 for Ashton Miller, and back to the podium places for the 79 team. Thank you, Ashton, for your time.
Thank you.
With Ashton Miller on the way, the checkered flag has fallen, and unfortunately, Matthew White not available for comment. Either way, you've heard from your third place finisher in Miller. Second place finisher is Matthew White, and you got a word as well from your race winner, James Thurston, in the number 96. Now, you'll see what's going on as we're going back to the ovals next week, and we're going to stay there for quite a while. But it begins with a return trip to Chicagoland. Joliet, Illinois is up next on the menu for the SNT field, and we'll see you with them next Saturday night. Until then, thank you for tuning in to coverage of the Pyrex Grand Prix. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated on FTN Broadcasting. We're bringing back some extra content to the channel. We'll leave that as a surprise for the time being. And more broadcasts are expected to come, not just for myself, but the whole FTN team. Until then, I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Congratulations to James Thurston on win number 2 on the season. We hope you have a fantastic night.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Once again, welcome back, race fans, to the World Center of Racing.
Welcome to the Underdog Racing Podcast, where we talk to NASCAR drivers from all over the great country of America. Each week, we chat about the latest races, share stories from the track, and get to know the drivers behind the wheel. We break down the action, hear from drivers about their experiences, and dive into what drives them to keep racing. Whether you're a longtime NASCAR fan or just curious about the sport, this is the place for you. So tune in to the Underdog Racing Podcast, your inside look at the world of NASCAR. Catch us every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.